Hello, and welcome back to the Write Your Path podcast. I'm your host, Lolly Spindler. I'm a writer and editor, a book doula, and writing coach. And today we have my dear friend Tasha Prados on with us. So I want to start today just by telling the story of how Tasha and I reconnected because it's fucking insane. So I want to say it was like 6 months?
It was pretty recently.
Okay. So we'll say it was like around 6 months ago. I was posting, I think it was like one of my freebies on the Remote Year Underground Slack, basically like Remote Year, even now that it's dead, but even before it died, people started like an underground Slack network to like network between themselves, not have to deal with a company. And so I still will pop in there from time to time, like see what's happening, like promote some of my freebies if they're relevant. And I think you responded to one of my posts, and then I was like looking at your...
No, we literally scheduled a call, and it wasn't until we got on the call that we were like, wait.
No.
Okay, we're going to have to check the receipts. We'll get back to you.
So I think you responded to like one of my posts or something. You commented or something. Okay. And so I went and I looked at like what you had written and like what you were doing, and I was like, I know this name. I know this person, but I don't know how. And so then I reached out to you on the DMs in Slack, and I was like...
I thought I reached out to you.
Oh, well, maybe you reached out to me. And I was like, did you do Remote Year? Like, why do you look so familiar? Why is your name so familiar? And I was like, it has to be Remote Year because we're both on this like Remote Year Underground thing. And she's like, no, I actually never did Remote Year. I'm just on here to like promote my business and like find clients. And I was like, okay, so that's not how I know you. And so then you were like, did you study abroad in Madrid? And I was like, I did. And then you were like, when? And I was like, 2009. And then we realized by process of elimination that we were in the same program. How many of us were there? Probably like
at least 80,
like 80-ish, I want to say. It was a pretty small program from like kids all over the country.
For sure.
We're in this program in Madrid. And so then I was like, oh my God, that's what it was. We studied abroad together in 2009 and then like completely...
crazy. Haven't seen each other since 2009.
No, completely lost touch. Because like even when we were in the program, we were in like different little
we weren't like super close
groups, So, like, we knew who each other were, but we weren't, like, very close. And so then I was like, oh, my God, that's so crazy. And so then that's when you were like, let's jump on a call.
Yeah. I thought, okay, here's what I think happened.
We can't even remember. It was 6 months
We're going to have to check. But I think that
we're aging.
we just, like, connected over the fact that we were both digital nomads and entrepreneurs. And we were like, let's schedule a call. And then at some point, yes, we definitely figured out, okay, we studied abroad together. But I feel like we were like, let's just chat about entrepreneur life because we're doing a lot of similar stuff and we're both digital nomads. And then we were like, wait, we actually know each other.
Maybe it was. I don't remember. I thought it was before the call. You could be right. I don't know. That's so crazy.
I think you're right. I think it was before the call. But we'll go back and check the receipts later.
Because then you were like, well, we should catch up. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So then we caught up on that call. And then you were like, I'm going to be in Mexico City.
And you invited me to your Friendsgiving. Yes. That call was like months and months ago. And you were like, come to my Friendsgiving. Yeah. And I was like, amazing. Can I bring like 6 friends? And you were like, absolutely.
Yeah,
so I was so excited to reconnect and have a friend in Mexico City.
Yeah, it was great because you're like, oh, it's like I'm going to be there in like 4 months. I get there like November 1st. I was like, want to come to Thanksgiving? You're like, sure. I was like, bring all your friends.
Absolutely. And it was great.
I know,
it was so lovely.
Time.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God. So this is great. So Tasha is also an amazing, like badass female entrepreneur. And she's been a digital nomad for how many years now?
6 years. And that's the same amount of time I've had my business as well.
Oh, okay. So that's why I was like, you're a perfect fit for my podcast because you are writing your own path. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and then also catch us up to how you became a digital nomad and started your business.
Ooh, that's a lot. Yeah. So I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I'm from the U.S. I'm Puerto Rican and Austrian. I started my career in international development. I was in the Peace Corps. Then I came back to the States. I worked at a think tank, a startup, the Embassy of Afghanistan, and the United Nations Foundation.
Damn, girl.
And then I was like, well, I really like communications and working on a variety of things. So I started looking at advertising agencies. I was very lucky to wind up at Ogilvy, which is one of the best 3 advertising agencies in the world. And I was there for 4 years. And towards the end of that time, I heard about this concept of being a digital nomad. And I was like, I want that. And this is pre-COVID, so nobody was working remotely. I did not want to start my own business because both my parents were not self-employed, they would say. And it looked very difficult. Yeah. It looked very financially insecure and scary. And so I never wanted that path for myself. It was never something that I thought about. But I was like, I really want to be a digital nomad. I know my current employer would never let me work remotely. So I was like, let me just try. Because I thought I would only do this for like a year or two. I was like, I'm going to do this for a year or two, and then I'll quote unquote go back to DC and get a real job. That was 6 years ago now. Yeah. So I've had my business now for 6 years. I've worked from, I think, about 31 different countries in the course of those 6 years. I actually have two businesses. So the first is Digital Strategist. I do branding and marketing strategy consulting and business coaching. Consulting, I primarily work with big organizations, corporations, nonprofits, think Amazon, Meta, Slack, and in-house marketing departments. And then coaching, I primarily work with freelancers, consultants, entrepreneurs, any service-based business owner who's trying to figure out, what services do I sell? Who do I sell them to? How do I get more clients? How do I get better quality clients? How do I fill my programs? How do I get more money? How do I make this sustainable for myself as an entrepreneur? Figuring out really the business model, the marketing strategy, the sales strategy, all of that good stuff. And then I have a second business just for fun.
Love it.
That one is called Duraka Travel. So it's my Digital Nomad blog, and I do a bit of travel writing. I've got some articles in like National Geographic and Travel and Leisure. Amazing. And do some brand deals and content creation with that.
That's incredible.
Thanks.
What would you say is like your favorite baby of all your babies?
It's hard. I mean, Duraka Strategic is what pays the bills, and I really love my work. And Duraka Travels kind of gets to be the like fun little passion project. Yeah. So I think for that reason, it stays feeling a little lighter and like, because it's just when I want to do things, and it's all my editorial opinion and voice, which is really great. Yeah. But I really do love the branding and marketing strategy work that I do as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so for some of your coaching clients, how do they find you, and what is like normally, what are they butting up against when they come to you?
Yeah, a lot of times I work with people who have been in business for a few years, and they sort of come to the realization that, I started my business because I wanted freedom and flexibility. I didn't want to have to adhere to, some boss's idea for what my hours should be and all of these things. But I have kind of been just in a reactive mode. I've just been trying to get work and pay the bills, and I haven't really taken the time or had the space to really step back and think, is this the business that I wanted when I started my business? What does that business look like, and how do we get there? And that's what I help people do.
Oh, I love that. So what are some of the common things that you see when people they have an idea of what they want, but they don't know how to get there? What are like the first like 2 or 3 steps you always try to help them implement?
Honestly, I think it's really different for everyone, the approach that I take, especially when I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I have a program called Premium Clients Unlocked, where it is a bit more structured, and what we start with there is really looking at your business model, looking at how many clients are you working with, what hours are you working, what services are you providing, and oftentimes just from really taking a hard look at that, people will start to realize, well, gee, I'm already working, 40, 50 hours a week at this rate. That's not going to change unless I proactively make the choice to change it and architect something new and different. So we start with business model. Then we really look at, what kind of services do I really want to offer? What kinds of clients do I really want to work with? And a lot of times, it's funny, we stop ourselves. There's nothing stopping us but us. And we put these ideas in our own head about like, oh, people want this instead of what I really want to do. And it's like, dude, you're the boss. Like you get to decide. So let's stay focused on what you really want to do, and then find the right target audience for that. I really focus on helping people position themselves at the top end of the market, where they can charge more, where they can work with higher quality clients, and also making sure that they're delivering a really great experience for those clients that those kinds of premium clients expect. So we start with business model, then we look at brand positioning and like market alignment, and like what is the service, what is the price point, who is the target audience for that, and then we look at how do we build out the marketing strategy and the sales strategy to support that, and make sure that you're getting the kinds of clients at the price points that you want, and also using that marketing and that sales process to pre-qualify people, have the kinds of clients we don't want self-select out, and also use our messaging to help people understand, what are our values, what is it like to work with us, and, kind of pre-sell them in a way before they even get on a call with us.
I love that. And I love what you said about like we're our own biggest obstacle. Like we're the ones stopping ourselves, especially for freelancers and the freelance writers I've worked with. Like they undercharge by
Oh my
so
God,
much.
yeah, 100%.
And I feel like it's so sad. It's like you got into this business to build this life that you've always dreamt of and like
Yes.
live your life, right? To have more time freedom, but then you're not charging enough to get the freedom that you're looking for.
I work with a lot of women and people of color, and a lot of the things that come up are like there's so many common themes of like shame around selling services, fear of selling services. I think fear and shame about like asking for too much. Like, again, we are out here working against ourselves. Like, a lot of times, if you ask for what you want, like, you will get it.
Yeah.
But people are not even asking because they don't want to be disliked. They don't want someone to say no. They don't want someone to be upset with them. These are like socially conditioned things that are holding us back. And if we can break free of that, then we can really have the businesses that we want.
So is there some type of like mindset work you do with your clients to help them overcome these like limiting beliefs and the self-doubt that they deal with?
It's so funny, Lolly. Like, I am not the mindset gal. I am the strategy gal. But there is so much mindset stuff that comes up, and it is something that I do help my clients with a lot. I have done a lot of work on this myself. I have had to do a lot of work on this myself, having been raised by a single mom and having like come up against all of this same stuff in my own life and business. But I think there's a spectrum, right? Like, some people are like, oh, I want to manifest this and I want to work on my limiting beliefs. And like, I'm not your girl for that. I'm your girl for like, okay, Lolly, like, let's look at the business model we want. Okay, let's set our goals. Let's work on these things every day. Like, here's your action plan. Yeah. And then as you're working through that, things are going to come up and we're going to work through it together. I'm not the girl who's over here like, like, let's manifest premium clients and like, let's, like, light some candles and some incense and like, I'm out here like, you got to do the work. You got to show up and put in the work. And yes, we also need to work on our mindset. I have a whole training called like Book Out Your Business Mindset. Mindset shifts that I can't remember the title, but it's like mindset shifts like to help you book out your business, where I break down some of these things in a lot more detail, because I have it comes up with all my clients. But I really think that if you don't work on the real tangible things like business model, brand positioning, marketing strategy, messaging, there's only so far you can get with just mindset work. Yeah.
Like, you have to have like both.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
get where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And I think like I'm hearing you say this, and this is kind of what I tell my students too, who are in the 6-figure freelance writer, is like, start from the end and work backwards.
Exactly.
So it's like, how much do you want to be making? Yes. How much time do you want to invest like in building your business? And then when you're actually working, how many working hours do you want a week? And then from there, decide, like, reverse funnel it back to where you're at right now.
Absolutely. We do something very similar. And I think also people oftentimes, they don't think about how much like non-billable time they're spending in their business and how much work it takes outside of just the client work, especially if you want not just to, the version I was talking about before, where you're sort of like surviving and you're paying the bills, but to really thrive and get to that next level business model that you want, you really need this space that where you're not doing client work to work on those other things in your business. Yeah,
100%. And I think that's really interesting too. It's like, especially as women, we tend to like undervalue our work. And then it's like, okay, well, if we don't have these puzzle pieces in place, knowing what we want from our business, and then on top of that, we're like undervaluing our time and our effort.
1,000%.
Like, you're not gonna get anywhere.
And what kills me is when people feel bad about charging or like telling their client like, hey, that's not in the scope, that's going to be extra. Like, that is not something you should feel bad about. Like, people don't go up to the register at Target and be like, hey, can I get this jumpsuit for free, right? But as freelancers and consultants, we deal with that shit all the time, and it's not okay. It's not how people should be treating other people, especially small business owners who are trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it falls to us to have those strong boundaries and really know how to negotiate and know how to get to where we want to go.
So what would be some of your like top negotiation tips for those difficult situations with clients?
I mean, you always want to make it a win-win, right?
Yeah.
So it starts with really listening to the client and understanding what their needs are, and also knowing when and where you're comfortable walking away. And part of being comfortable walking away is having a strong lead gen pipeline and a strong marketing strategy, and knowing that, you know, if this client doesn't value me, if they're not willing to, you know, adhere to our agreement, then that's okay. I'll work with another client who does. And knowing that that is possible for you. It's kind of like dating, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if this client is not going to treat me well, I am going to go find the client who is.
Yeah. And I think one of my favorite things is firing clients. It gets to like a place where you're like so empowered and you value your time and yourself so much that you're like, oh no, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. Like, I have enough work. I have enough like income coming in.
1,000%.
And I can easily replace you. So if you're not aligned with my values and you're not valuing my time and my work as much as my other clients and as much as I do, then I'm going to fire you. And it's like such a great feeling when you get to fire a client.
Yeah. Luckily I haven't had too many like really tough situations where I felt like really disrespected. But I would say that there definitely have been situations where, you know, I have fired a client, or, you know, my favorite thing to do while we're talking about this, I love to charge a jerk tax. Here's a really fun story. Yeah,
oh,
so
I love this already.
Here's a good one. It's like if you have an offer from a client and you know that they're maybe going to push your buttons or maybe not be ideal in a certain way, think about, instead of charging your usual amount, what amount would make doing this work feel good for you?
Oh my God.
Right? So I'll give you an actual real example, a consulting example. This is a company that found me on LinkedIn, and I had done a small deliverable for them. And they were a pain to work with, and they were a little bit disrespectful. And they came back to me a few weeks later, and they were like, hey, can you do this same deliverable again for a different project? And I was like, sure, this is going to be the rate. And I knew from our conversations that they were delaying bringing me on, right? Like they asked me and then they waited and then they wanted me to rush and do it very quickly. And I was like, sure, no problem. If you want it by that date, it's going to be this amount.
Yeah, like
and they were like, I literally charged them 3 times the amount from the previous deliverable.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And they were like, we don't understand. Like, you just did this for us. It was this much. And I was like, yeah. And if you would like this one on this date, it will be this much. And they were like, okay.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah.
So you're like jerk tax plus rush fee equals 3x.
Yeah.
Nice.
So don't underestimate your worth, you know?
Yeah. I love that. The jerk tax.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to start implementing this because I feel like so many times in communicating with clients, you can tell from like the first couple interactions how it's going to go. Like I can tell by like an email chain if somebody's going to be like micromanaging me and I'm like, oh no, this is not a fit. It's like, I'll put it out to like my network of freelancers and see if anybody else wants it. But I'm like, I know like the amount of stress and anxiety this one client is going to cause me. It's not worth it.
I will say too, I think we're talking about it in a very black and white way as like good clients and bad clients. And I don't think that's the case. I do think that there is so much room in how we message and market and do our onboarding and sales process, in how you can teach a client how to treat you the same way you would teach a date how to treat you in a way. You can really use your messaging and your marketing and your application process, your sales and your onboarding process and make sure it's in your contract, your scope of work, all of these things, so that you're protected and you're not this like emotional woman who like is asking for ridiculous things.
Yeah.
It's from a very business perspective, from a very win-win perspective, from a very like how do we do the best work perspective. And if you want the best work, this is the way forward, right?
Yeah.
So there is really a lot of room to educate clients how to treat us, to show up in the right way. That's a big part of what we do inside of Premium Clients Unlocked. Isn't just how do we get the clients, but how do we make sure it's a really good experience both for me and for the client when I'm working with them. and what can we do before they even become a client to make sure that they're going to show up in a really good way, and they're also going to get really good results, and they're going to get my best work or my client's best work, right?
It's almost like screening the clients before they even get into your inbox.
A big thing I like to say about sales is that it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And you are deciding if you want to work with them as much as they're deciding if they want to work with you.
Yeah.
That's the mentality you want to have. See, I'm talking about all this mindset stuff.
See, I know. That's why I was like, girl, you are doing mindset work. You say you're not, but you totally are. So how did this start? Like, where did the idea for Duraka come from? Like, why did you decide like this was the way you wanted to go when you left Ogilvy and you were like, I need to do my own thing?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a journey. I obviously love doing branding and marketing strategy consulting at a top 3 global advertising agency. And I really wanted to make those tools and best practices more accessible to small business owners and freelancers and consultants who need them a lot more than rich old white guys do.
Who already have all the money in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Who are trying to build intergenerational wealth and, you know, create a legacy for their families. And so I feel like when I can help a small business owner, a freelancer, a consultant, like if you can help someone create the life that they want, create a business that is going to financially sustain them for the course of their lives, give them the lifestyle that they want, give them freedom. Like, I just think that's so worthwhile. A friend of mine joked, he was like, your strategy is like capitalism as an exit strategy for capitalism. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically it.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God. I know, right? Because it's like you have to operate within the system. So like, how can we kind of create a life within this system that is still supportive of like our values?
100%.
Right? So that's always something I've been like, look, we're still like generating for the machine and the man in some way, but at least we're doing it on our own terms 100%. And we're building our own dreams instead of the dreams of someone else.
I love that. Yes, exactly. My friend Dawn likes to say, every dollar you make for yourself is worth so much more than a dollar that you make from someone else.
100%. Because like then the hours of your life are going into something that you want for yourself instead of somebody else wants for them, right?
Exactly. It's no longer going into making shareholders richer. It's going into, you know, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah. And not even just like revenue and like all the experience we get from building a business, right? You learn so many lessons. I always say, if you want extreme growth, like rapidly, start a business.
Both personally and professionally.
Yeah. And not just like business knowledge, like spiritual growth too. Like there are so many like spiritual, emotional, mental, physical lessons all wrapped up in entrepreneurship that it's like you're going to grow so fast in every direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were some of like the areas you would say like where you rapidly grew after jumping into entrepreneurship?
I'm a completely different person than I was 6 years ago. God, where to begin? Like, I think I've grown and changed in so many ways. It's honestly hard to name a way that I haven't grown and changed. I know that's not a very helpful answer to your question. I'm trying to think of something specific and I'm kind of blanking right now.
So let's just say from all of these professional entrepreneurial lessons, how was that reflected back into your personal life? Did you see like your relationships change, your communication change?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's very true about entrepreneurship that people say is that like whatever your personal issues are in your personal life, it's also reflected in your professional life and vice versa. I think it really holds up a mirror. And I think one thing for me is I come from DC. It's a very type A, very, you know, go, hustle culture environment, very ambitious. And I think like letting go control a little bit of a lot of things and like being more comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty and like letting things reveal themselves, I think is essential if you're going to be an entrepreneur. It is definitely a bit of a roller coaster. I mean, what I really try to do with my clients is help reduce that whole feast and famine cycle. So you have more consistent leads, you have more consistent revenue. But I think in some ways in business, it is natural for there to be seasons and ebb and flow. and you're not always going to be crazy busy. You're not always going to have money coming in hand over fist. So how do you handle it in the low times, and how do you handle yourself? I think a big thing I've worked on is separating my own self-worth from my productivity and from like, you know, oh, this person said they were going to work with me and then they didn't sign up. Like, that must mean I'm a terrible person. Realizing that that's not reality, that that person has other things going on. And now I get to help my clients with these same issues because things happen. Like, things do not go perfectly all the time in life, and definitely not in entrepreneurship. People are going to say they're going to sign up and then not sign up. People are going to, you know, join your program and then, you know, have a crazy life situation happen and not show up the way that they want to. Yeah. And learning, I think, how to handle those things with grace and as a human being and human being to human being, instead of taking it personally and thinking about, well, what does this mean for me and my bottom line, I think is a really valuable lesson.
Yeah. And it's funny because this is just reminding me of a conversation I had with my friend Chelsea on the podcast, where she is really into human design, and it's just like another tool in your toolbox, right? Just like understanding anything about your identity and who you are. Yeah. And after I realized, like, I'm a projector, and I realized when people, you know, something happens, like you're saying, like somebody doesn't sign up or they say they're going to do something and they don't, it has nothing to do with me. And I was like, oh, I realize now, because like I'm just like a mirror. Like, they're basically just holding up a mirror in front of their faces. Yeah. And they're like, it's really more about them than it's about me. But 100%. It took, like, I had to really understand like who I was and get to this place where I was like, oh, okay, this is why this has been showing up so much in my life, is because it has nothing to do with me, but we always think it does, right? And so, like, even just decoupling ourselves from our business, like, we are not our businesses, and creating some space and distance between, this is my baby, that this is my business, but it's not a reflection of who I am. Yes, I created it, but once, like, you need to create some healthy space and distance between the two in order to.
Absolutely. And realizing that, like, if someone doesn't purchase my services, it is not a rejection of me personally. Yeah. Right? There's an issue there, whether it's on their end, whether it's the marketing, the messaging, the brand positioning, the landing page, the color of the button, right? There's a lot we can improve, but none of that means that you are a bad person or you are not a worthy person, you know, or whatever crazy thoughts you might be telling yourself.
Yeah. And I think that does, like, tie in hand with the control thing that you mentioned earlier, which is something I've, like, definitely been working on over the past couple years, is like realizing, you know, being a recovering perfectionist, that's all about control, right? And so now getting to this place, like, really assessing my relationship with control. Why do I feel like I need to, like, hold on so tight to something, and just starting to realize you really don't have control over anything.
You really don't.
So only, like, the effort you put in, whatever, you know, but, like, other than that, like, you just gotta let shit happen. Yes. And be like, okay, I can control my reaction to what's happening, but I can't control, like, the actions of anyone else. And so I think those things really go, like, hand in hand. Is like basically taking a really intense look at our relationship with control and how it manifests, not just personally, but, like, professionally in our businesses.
Absolutely. It's something I definitely have been working on in my personal life, for sure. I think I try to deal with whatever anxiety by, like, trying to control the outcome, but like you said, you can't control the outcome. It's uncontrollable. So instead of trying to control it, what if we just, like, let people reveal themselves and react to that, see if we like that or not. And I think in terms of, like, from a coaching perspective and in the business perspective, I mean, a big thing I see in terms of launches, for example, is I think a lot of times I see entrepreneurs launch, and then, you know, maybe some people sign up at the beginning and then no one's signing up, and they start to feel this self-doubt and they start to freak out. And so then they change their actions and their behavior. So then they're not showing up in a way that is going to create a successful launch. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then people don't sign up, and then they're like, well, dang, I fucked that up and it's my fault. And it's like, no, actually, it's like, if you had not let those thoughts get in your way, if you had continued to show up and take action, see, this is where I think we got to go beyond mindset and do the strategy, do the actions. If you continue to show up and take action, you're going to get results, right?
Yeah, 100%. And another thing you mentioned that I really want to highlight is our relationship with productivity. This is also something I've been working on, and it's like just in the most basic level, like our value is not dependent on our productivity.
Yes.
But like living in this capitalistic society, that's what we're taught at a very young age. And so that has been ingrained in all of us since we were really young, even like homework. Like if you think about all these things, like, so that has been like one of my main things these past couple of years is like, it's okay if I'm not the most productive. Like obviously taking action is important, but if I don't have to be busy all the time. I can be really intentional with where I'm putting my effort and my action, and then I can rest. Yeah. Like I'm still have value as a human if I'm not being productive 24/7.
1,000%. I definitely think that's a journey I've also been on my whole life. I think being from the US, I think especially you really, I think so much of your, and DC area as well, I think so much of your worth is tied to your job and your status and your productivity. And, you know, when I was in the Peace Corps in rural Peru in the desert, and I didn't have as much work to do, I definitely had an identity crisis. And I was like, well, wait, if I'm not working 40 hours a week, like who am I? Exactly. And by the time I got back to the United States and I was working in an office, I was like, wait, you want me to work 40 hours a week in an office? When am I supposed to hang out and read and talk to my friends and like shoot the shit on the porch, you know? But it's still a journey. It's still something that I wrestle with all the time. I mean, you know, I think we talk about these things like you can solve them and you can definitely improve, but I think in some ways it's always a journey, and there's always a little, it's not like I'm just magically healed and cured of everything after 6 years of entrepreneurship. Like I still struggle with those times of like, oh, I wish I was more productive. I feel great about myself when I'm very productive. Yeah. And it's important that we also feel good about ourselves when we're resting, because that's really important too. Yeah, that's something I definitely struggle with is like, I feel like I've had a good day when I've like been productive. And if I'm just like I've been sick, like if I'm just not doing anything and like resting and like letting my body recover, then I like don't feel as good about myself. And I'm like, no, this is so fucked up. 100%. 100%. It's like, I should still feel good about myself. What is happening? You should. Yeah. So that's definitely, it's a journey, right? Like there's never a destination. And I mean, that's a thing, like, especially if you're working on things like your relationship with control or with productivity or whatever it may be, like, it will keep surfacing with different faces. Yeah. Right? Because you're never going to think, oh, I completely have figured this out. But you'll be like, oh, okay, like I addressed that. All right. And then like in a different situation, unexpectedly, it'll rise up again. And you're like, oh, fuck, here we go. Here's another aspect of this thing. Damn it, I thought I was healed. That I now must face. So yeah. But I mean, that's kind of like the beauty of this journey too, is that you do get to see so many facets of yourself, both personally and professionally, and like see how these things just kind of like manifest in your life and like keep showing up, and they have so many things to teach you. Yeah. All of my friends from home pretty much are like married with 2 kids. And one of my really closest friends, we've been friends since kindergarten, I'll talk to her a lot about like, sometimes I'll just like be freaking out about something or like having a bit of an identity crisis. And one thing she's told me that's really helpful, I think both the fact having my own business and being a digital nomad, she was like, Tasha, like most people, they wake up every day and everything is the same routine, right? It's like they drive their same car to the same place, they go to work, they have the office, they have daycare pickup, like, you know, they make the same meals every week, you know, right? She was like, the number of decisions you are making on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis is so much larger than the average person who has a job and lives in one place and has a stable routine. Yep. Of course, it's going to bring up a lot more questions. Like, I don't even know where I live unless I decide where I live. Yeah. Yep. So I'm constantly thinking about, what life do I want? How do I optimize that life? What does that life look like? And of course, it brings up a lot of questions. Whereas I think for a lot of people who are living their day-to-day in a routine and a job and living in one place, some of that stuff just might not come up as often. They might not be confronting it as often, even if it might be there under the surface. Yeah, it's like they're not confronted with as much decision fatigue. And they're not forced to think about it either. Yeah, exactly. Like it can just be dormant and they can just not worry about it. Yeah, that's so true. That's really interesting because I never really thought about it like that.
But it's so true. Like I was in India in February and we stayed in an ashram for like 3 nights. That's it. And I was like, I love this. I don't have to make any decisions. I wake up at 5 a.m., you meditate for an hour, then you do yoga for an hour, then you go get breakfast, then after breakfast you have a lecture, then after the lecture you go to the library. And I was like, oh my God. And then like you don't have to think about food. They just like give you slop on a plate and it's delicious. I was like, oh my God, like I want to come back for a month because it's like a break for my brain. Because like being like, I'm living like my dream life effectively, right? Like I have a beautiful apartment. I have like this beautiful business. Like obviously like there are times when I struggle in my business, but that's like still a choice I'm actively making is to like create this life. But I don't think about all of those little decisions that I have to make like because I am living this life, right?
Yeah.
And so then now that you said that, I was like, oh my God, that's why I loved the ashram so much. Just because I didn't realize like the load of decisions I have to make. Like, you know, I look at my partner who just like gets up and he goes to the office and like that's, and you know, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Like he doesn't have to make nearly as many decisions on a daily basis as I do. And that's why I need to go live in an ashram for a month.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, no, I highly recommend it. If anybody is suffering from decision fatigue, go to an ashram. It is incredible. You just disconnect completely. And like, you don't even have to really choose what you're going to wear, you know?
That sounds amazing.
And outfits for a week and you're good, you know?
All right.
But yeah, that's very true. I love that perspective. And I love like, that's, you know, like, wow, I never really thought about that. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. It blew my mind when she said it. So
yeah, and it's interesting too because it's coming from somebody like living in that life, right?
Yeah.
That's like really beautiful that she was able to be like, you know, you're making a lot more decisions than the average person because I just wake up.
I love my friends from home. Like we live very different lives, and I love that we're still able to be there for each other, even though our lives look so very different. Yeah,
and then you get that like different perspective, which is really beautiful. And it's like I think it's very valuable. Like my sister and I are complete opposites. Like she lives in Southern California where we grew up and has 3 kids. And like, you know, she runs a business. She runs a vineyard with her husband, but it's like, it's still like a very different life. But it's really beautiful having that other perspective of like, oh yeah, this is what, like, even like this is what my life could have been had I chose a different path. It really puts like your life into perspective and like, probably makes you grateful, but also, you know, maybe you're like, oh, I kind of wish I was closer to them, you know, like physically, I would love to see my nieces and nephew more, but also like, I love my life and I wouldn't trade it for anything because I crafted it the way I wanted it to be. So
1,000%, I feel the same way.
Yeah. So it's nice to have like maintain those relationships from different stages of your life to like, you know, kind of even show just like oh wow, like I've changed a lot, like I've done a lot, even especially for you in the past special. 6 years.
And to have a friend who's known me since kindergarten and seen me through literally every phase of my life, like that's so valuable. My friend who I've known since I was 5 years old literally just sent me like a meme on Instagram the other day, and she's like, you're one of like my favorite people, or like I know you the best because I've known you since you were a virgin. That's hilarious.
And I was like, oh my God, I love this.
That's really funny.
I need to like send this to someone else. But yeah, well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we end, is there any programs you would like to share with listeners or any social media like sites or websites where they can find you?
Sure. Well, if you are a digital nomad, check out durakatravels.com. It's got all of my digital nomad tips, my favorite co-livings, everything you need if you are thinking about becoming a digital nomad. And if you are a current or aspiring entrepreneur, service-based entrepreneur, freelancer, consultant, small business owner, go check out durakatstrategic.com. That has got all of my programs. My signature program, I mentioned it, it's called Premium Clients Unlocked. That is for you if you really want to work with higher quality, higher paying clients that you really love. You really want to build a life first 6-figure plus business, and you really want to make sure that you have the systems and strategy behind it to support that. Those would probably be the main ones.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for being here. This was so
much
fun.
For having me. It was a blast.
I'm so glad that Slack brought us back together.
I know. All right, I'm going to check our DMs.
I know. We'll post like a screenshot in the show notes to find out who was right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next week. Ciao.